We just experienced COP26, and coming out of it, we're doomed. We're doomed. But there was a little bit of good information, including some reports done by individual countries about what they expect to happen in terms of emissions for their country. And some of the information made it look like it wasn't that bad. Their mitigation efforts seemed like they were working. Well, in some cases that might be true, but an analysis by the Washington Post shows that there's a little bit of funny math going on with some of that. Across the world, many countries significantly underreport their greenhouse gas emissions in their reports to the UN. An examination of 196 country records reveals a giant gap between what nations declare their emissions to be versus the greenhouse gases they are actually sending into the atmosphere. And that can range from 8.5 billion to 13.3 billion tons a year of underreported emissions, which is a significant portion of all we'd need to be doomed climate-wise to begin with. And what does this look like? Well, I'll give you an example. Malaysia released 422 million tons of greenhouse gases in 2016, placing it among the world's top 25 emitters that year. But because Malaysia claims its trees are consuming vast amounts of CO2, its reported emissions to the UN are just 81 million tons, less than those of the small European nation of Belgium. And in some cases, these countries are claiming that their trees absorb many times more than the trees of the next country over. So maybe it's true. And by the way, Malaysia is contributing far less than the United States and other countries like that. We lie as well, but this is a significant problem. If even with this information, we're not doing what we need to do, and the information itself is suspect.
Yeah, no, 100%. And there is no consequence. So that's the whole thing. Like I've said this many times, just release the monster that lives under the Fukushima Daiichi power plant, melted power plant, on any country that doesn't live up to its emission standards. Just go, rawr, Godzilla this, but we can't, sadly. And this is the flaw in the COP system, which is that it's basically the honor system. And since when do we allow world leaders to use the honor system? It doesn't happen. And the Earth votes. It votes with like storm surges and cyclones and what is it? Cold bombs, winter bombs. There's some bomb snap. But I think the real issue around COP and that they still haven't addressed is that there's a disproportionate responsibility on countries that have emitted more historically, like the United States. And that the only way you're gonna get countries to actually comply is if you pay them. You have to pay countries that have rainforest to not chop that rainforest down, because right at this point, they're like, but that's our way to development. But creating a monocrop, but polluting, etc., getting rid of these old growth forests, we can make money off of that, and we can grow our economies off of that. And so that's what has to be done, is understanding that second and third world countries need to straight up get money to protect their environment.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Want to show you one more thing though. You were talking about how the world votes. Well, let's show this graphic of some of the ways it's going to vote in an area maybe near you, including with things like flooding, rising sea levels, hurricanes, heat and drought, wildfires, and sea and glacial ice retreat. It's all over the place and it's all bad. Isn't it fun? Maybe we should do something about this.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.